In the early 1980s, the cost of everything was exploding. The value of a dollar felt like it was in freefall. For millions of Americans, it was a time of deep uncertainty. Unemployment was the highest it had been since the Great Depression. The American dream felt like it was breaking. But for one group, this crisis was even deeper: the single mother. Facing a hostile economy and shrinking social support, how did they possibly manage? How did they feed their kids when they were being pushed to the absolute financial edge? They didn't just survive. They became masters of a financial strategy born from pure necessity. And the secret methods they used to stretch every single dollar are more relevant today than you could ever imagine. This is how they did it.
The jobs are taken, and this is a new.
The early 1980s wasn't just one recession. It was two recessions, back to back. Economists called it a double dip. For regular people, it just felt like falling and never hitting the bottom. Inflation was a monster. It peaked at over 13% in 1980. That meant $1 one year was worth far less the next. Your paycheck was shrinking even if the number stayed the same. Now imagine you're a single mother in the middle of the storm. Let's call her Carol. She works as a waitress, a job with long hours and low pay. She has 2 young kids at home, and the world around her is becoming less friendly. At the time, a damaging stereotype was gaining traction: the myth of the welfare queen. This caricature painted single mothers on assistance as lazy and fraudulent. It created a hostile public mood, and it was used to justify major cuts to the social safety net. The primary welfare program, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, or AFDC, was slashed. Eligibility rules got tighter. Many of the working poor, like Carol, were pushed completely off the rolls. The little help that existed was disappearing. So there she was, alone, in the middle of an economic hurricane. Her wages were stagnant, her costs were soaring, and her safety net was gone. She had to face her budget head on, starting with the 2 biggest expenses of all, and they were giants. For a single mom like Carol, the monthly budget wasn't a spreadsheet, it was a battleground. And on this battlefield, there were 2 giants that had to be defeated first: housing and childcare. Rent was the biggest and most inflexible expense. It was due on the first of the month, no excuses. Most single mothers rented small, often run-down apartments. Some moved in with their own parents to save money. Public housing was an option, but the waiting lists were years long. This meant that for many, over half their income was gone the second they paid rent. Eviction was a constant, terrifying threat. The second giant was childcare. And it was less an expense and more a crisis. Affordable formal daycare was simply not an option for most. So they built a patchwork system to survive. The most common solution was family. Grandmothers became default babysitters. Neighbors would trade childcare hours back and forth. But the most common strategy was a sign of the times: the latchkey kid. Children as young as 8 or 9 were given a house key. They were left to care for themselves and even younger siblings until their mom got home from work. It was a risky solution born from a lack of better options. Between the rent and finding some way to pay for childcare, there was barely anything left. Nearly every dollar was claimed before she even thought about food. This forced her to become a genius in the one area she had some control over: the grocery aisle. The grocery store was a weekly gauntlet. It was a place of tough choices and creative mathematics. Every single penny had a job to do. And the first tool in the arsenal was the Sunday newspaper. Meticulous coupon clipping was not a hobby. It was a financial necessity. Every dime saved on a can of soup was a dime that could go towards the bus pass. The second rule was simple: buy generic. Store brands and generics were essential. They didn't have the flashy commercials, but they filled a hungry stomach just the same. Meals were built around cheap filling staples: macaroni and cheese, often with sliced hot dogs for protein. Potatoes, rice, and beans were cornerstones of the diet. Ground beef was a luxury, stretched with breadcrumbs to make it last longer. Government assistance was crucial. Food stamps helped put food on the table. The Women, Infant, and Children Welfare Program, or WIC, provided essentials like milk and cereal for young children. And then there was the infamous government cheese. This processed cheese block was a surplus food item. It became a symbol of making do with what you had. Many mothers planted small vegetable gardens if they had a patch of soil. They cooked in bulk on the weekend, freezing leftovers for the week ahead. But stretching the cash from a paycheck was only half the story. The most clever survival strategies happened outside the grocery store. They were part of a hidden economy where money wasn't the only thing of value. The budget for a 1980s single mom wasn't just about cash. It was about community. They relied on a hidden economy where trust and favors were a kind of currency. This was the key to making ends meet. They created complex bartering systems. One mom might say, "I'll watch your kids on Tuesday afternoon. If you can fix the hem on my work uniform." No money exchanged hands, but both received something of immense value. This system extended to everything. Clothing was passed down from older children to younger ones. It was shared between cousins and neighbors. Thrift stores and garage sales weren't for finding vintage fashion. They were the primary source for clothes, toys, and household goods. This hidden economy was a lifeline, but it was incredibly fragile, and one thing could break it all: the family car. If a mother had one, it was usually an old, unreliable beater. It was her link to her job and her childcare, but it was also a ticking time bomb. A flat tire or a dead battery was a financial disaster. Imagine the car's transmission fails. The repair costs $400. That's an entire month's rent. Suddenly, your whole life is upended. You're waking up at 4:30 a.m. to catch 2 separate buses, terrified you'll be late for work and get fired. This fragile system of cash and community was stretched to its absolute limit. So what did that budget actually look like on paper? Could you survive on it? So, let's look at the hard numbers. Could you actually survive on a 1982 single mom's budget? Let's do the math. In 1982, the median income for a single mother household was about $11,500 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $950 a month to live on. That's your starting number, $950. Now, let's subtract the giants. The average rent was about $320 a month. Right away, a third of your money is gone. Let's estimate other basic costs. Utilities like heat and electricity, bus passes for transportation. That could easily be another $150. You're left with less than $500 for everything else, for an entire month. That has to cover all your food, all your household supplies, all your kids' clothes, everything. There was no room for error. There was no money for savings. There was no safety net for a trip to the emergency room or for a broken down car. Living on this razor's edge wasn't just about math. It was a masterclass in survival. And it taught powerful lessons in financial resilience, lessons that are just as critical today as they were back then. So how do we take these crisis-tested strategies and apply them today? The principles of that 1980s survival guide have powerful modern equivalents. The core ideas are the same, but the tools are new. First, coupon clipping has become digital savings. Instead of scissors and newspapers, you can use store apps and browser extensions that find discounts for you automatically. Next, community bartering is now online swapping. The neighborhood support system lives in Buy Nothing groups on Facebook, where you can get furniture, clothes, and kids' toys for free. Also, stretching meals has evolved into modern meal prepping. You can use the same principle of cooking in bulk to plan your week with cheaper, healthier proteins and reduce food waste. Finally, childcare networks have become parent co-ops. Instead of informal agreements, parents today can organize and trade babysitting hours to attack one of the biggest costs of raising a family. This is just a quick look at the possibilities. Each of these is a deep topic on its own. I've put together a full, step-by-step guide on how to implement this entire 1980s toolkit in today's world. If you want to learn the specific details, that complete guide is waiting for you in my Substack, pinned in the comments, and located in the description of this video. The brutal recession of the early 1980s eventually ended. The economy recovered. But the lessons learned in that storm remain incredibly powerful. The story of the 1980s single mom is more than just history. It's a textbook on financial resilience. It teaches us that resourcefulness isn't just about saving money. It's about creating value where there seems to be none. It shows that a strong community can be the most valuable safety net you have. And most of all, it teaches the discipline of separating what you truly need from what you simply want. In a world that still faces economic uncertainty, these lessons are timeless. The survival strategies of the past can be the building blocks for a stronger financial future. You just have to know where to look. If you want more videos like this, be sure to support the channel by smashing that like button, sharing these videos, and subscribing to the History of Hustle.